Okay. So I keep on putting the same name on, which has the date, which isn't the date anymore, but I'm scared to change it because I think the setup is working. And now I have, so it is what it is, you know. Maybe I'll change it later. But so I've got the setup now with the middle part of the guitar like here. Again, I'm not left-handed, so I'm setting it up this way so that this fretboard lines up in the same order as you if you're watching the screen, which I think is easier. And I'd love to hear comments on whether you agree with me on that or not. I might be weird, but I feel like ChatGTP. I talked to my best friend about it, and Chat was like, Chat agrees with me. I don't. He might just be being nice, agreeing with me, but we think that it's actually true. And then right above it, then we can have the fretboard with the low or heavy E string on top. I'm on the left hand side screen. That low or heavy E string right there. That's the top string on the guitar, because again, that's the easier way to do it. Why doesn't anybody do it that way? Because everybody is crazy. I don't know why. Because you have the technology, we've got the tools, and we know the job, but no one does it. I don't get it. But that's what I'm doing. Okay. So I have the very colorful fretboard again, because and this time I'm going to map all of the color system to the nodes instead of the notes. So I think that's actually oftentimes the more practical way to do it, because it kind of mirrors the idea of the Nashville number system. It's basically just an extension of the Nashville number system, the more I think about it that way, so that the Ionian is always going to be this lime green. Now, and I'm trying to practice myself, and again, I'm talking this out to you as though you care, which you may or may not care, but the point is it helps me in my mind to kind of figure things out. So I present it and talk it out anyways. Like if I went crazy, I'd be one of those guys in the middle of the street just talking to themselves like crazy. It's like, even those guys, those guys I feel bad for. I'm like, I get it, dude. People tell you you're crazy, but no, they just tricked you and then made you think, no, that's actually you have to talk it out like that. So whatever, any case. So I'm going to say that we have the so I'd like to name the colors. Now again, every time I work with colors, it makes me feel like we've gone through such weirdness with like colors have all these strange meanings. They're gang signs and they're, whatever. So if it's weird to like now say, no, the color, we're just assigning it the meaning now to equivalent to the Nashville number system. So, and then I'd like to learn the color names, which I never really got that specific on, but I think other people most likely have. And if you can visualize the color spectrum, it's not political, the spectrum of color, then you can see that line and map it onto the notes. But we're going to start here in kind of like the middle of the spectrum when we're thinking about the assignment of it to the Nashville number system. Why didn't I make, in other words, this C red, which would be the start of the spectrum? And that's because I want to make the A red, because that's the start of the musical alphabet. So we're going to name the nodes off of kind of like the piano kind of forced us into using the C major all the time, even though the range of notes starts at the A. So that's how, so you can see the spectrum starts in the middle, this yellow green, and then it wraps around and bends back around to the A, which is actually the start of the spectrum normally. All right, so I'm just trying to map this out in my own mind so that I can then, so that I have a good grasp of it. All right, and then what I want to do this time, and so this is going to be the collection of 7 notes around the C major scale, and so I thought I'd change things up a bit this time by, instead of working on like 2 strings and working on a different finger, then to look at 3-string chords, but shapes that are kind of standard across the fretboard that are a little bit more maybe unusual than a normal triad chord. In other words, if I was to make an A minor chord here, normally I would do it this way. I think this is how most people do it, right? They know the caged system. they move up the open cage systems into bar chords, and then they drop all the bar chords except for the E major, the E minor, and then the A major and the A minor bar chord. So if I find an A here and I know it's a minor, then I can just throw in my minor, bar chord shape like that. And if it was a C and I know it's a major, then I'm gonna throw down I'm just gonna say, oh, there's my root, and then I just throw down the bar, which I know is a major shape like that, right? And then if it was down below, if it was like a D down here, and I was like, I know that's a minor, but it's there, I'm gonna do the A minor shape like that. But if it was like a major on this second string, and I knew it was like this F is a major, then I can throw down the A major bar shape. That's how most people kind of think of it, but we're not, by doing that, we're only learning the top two strings, and we're not really mapping out the bottom strings, and we're not really taking advantage of constructing the chord from different ways, right? My favorite way to play the A minor, for example, my favorite shape seems to be like right here, right in the middle of the guitar. That's way easier for me because I like that. I think some people like this lean back thing versus the lean forward shapes. You just tend towards one or the other. One isn't better than the other or anything, but I tend to like these lean back shapes, which I call them a lean back. So my hand tends to be more like this instead of like this, and that's that's probably because I like to wrap my thumb over the top, even though I don't really use it to do much. I don't know why exactly, but but now I'm thinking that I'd like to just map out 3-string shapes. So what I was doing yesterday was mapping out like how far can I go with a different finger, like starting with my root position, which I usually think of as A, and then mapping out like this. That exercise, but I'm thinking people might be getting bored of that. I'm getting a little bored of that, so maybe I'll do something different this time. The point of that exercise is often to figure to root something other than my pointer finger, right? I'm trying to say, what if I put one of these other 3 fingers down, I can explore the shape with those other 3 fingers, and there's a big difference in what I can do if I look at another shape. Now though, I'm thinking, let me see if I can just find shapes. And my theory that I'm currently working on is that there's 2 ways people deal with shapes. I'm thinking, this is my current theory. I'm just going to talk it out here. Again, I know I'm just rambling. That's what I do. But this is how I think, right? I'm going to say it's a current. So my current theory is there's 2 kinds of people. This might be wrong. I'm just throwing it out there. 2 kinds of people, which anytime someone says that, it's already wrong, because that's not, you're dividing the world into 2. That's not correct. But just for a thought process, 2 kinds of people. You've got the people that are playing songs, and this leads to people that really like to replicate songs, which is kind of like a classical thing, or in the pop world, that's totally a cool thing to do. But then what you're trying to do is you're trying to learn the chords and then figure out how to map them onto the fretboard. So you're trying to learn the chords. So I learned the chord and map it onto the fretboard from a functional standpoint of fitting it into a song. And then you've got the other kinds of people, which are more like the jazz or improv type people, that are more likely to want to learn the fingering, explore the fingering, and then figure out the chord, which is more like what I like to do, because I like to just look at the shape I'm just like looking at the shape on the fretboard and then explore the fingering on like, okay, well, what if I put my finger here, and then here or something, but then I don't really know what I'm doing, right? And then I have to go into then I go in and kind of figure out what does that exactly mean. So I think both of those methods are actually good, because you can, if you learn the chord first and then how to map it out finger wise, you get good at knowing exactly what the chord is you're playing, but you only know it from one perspective oftentimes. And if you get good at the fingering, then it's actually more natural, I think, on the fretboard, because then you're actually, you know where you are on the fretboard. You don't just know, like, it's not like you just took your hand out for here and like, oh, and then it goes right there exactly, and then I take my hand off the fretboard and I go over here, and then I go here, right? No, you're more like going, oh, I'm just moving now. I'm moving into this shape. Okay, that's part of this shape, and then which is can make it a more of a natural thing. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so now I'm thinking, well, what if, like, how can I explore all the different shapes I can do? Do I need to explore what's like just a systematic way to do that? Like, do I have to explore by anchoring all my different fingers like I was doing here? Will I get a different shape if I anchor my pinky compared to anchoring my ring finger, my pointer? And my theory is no. Like, when you're looking for shapes, I think you can anchor your pointer all the time and you'll get to the same absolute shapes. Meaning if I'm like, okay, I'm going to put my pointer here and then I'm going to go up here and then I'm going to reach down here for whatever I can grab that's still in the shape, like here or here, that I'm going to end up with the same shapes as though I anchored my finger here and then looked for the shape. I'm going to look for the shape and I'm going to say, okay, I find it. I find that I can put my finger here and I can put my finger here or here. Or if I anchored it with my pinky, then I'm going to be like, oh, okay, then I can find it doesn't matter which finger I anchor it with, I'm going to find the same shapes. So I might as well look for all the different combinations of 3 to 4 notes that I can play, also trying to weave in the open notes by starting with my pointer. But then when I define the chord, like when I see the chord, then I want to define the chord not just by my pointer, but I can define the chord this way or this way. And my thinking there is also, I feel like the current chord construction is kind of cool in one way because it gives one name for the normal chord constructions in all of the in all of the 7-note collection. But in another way, it's not as great from a functional standpoint because even though this, if I hold this down, in my perspective, I feel like, and you can tell me I'm wrong here, but I feel like if that's an A minor, I should be able to define it as an A minor from this note, but it shouldn't be uniquely that's the chord. I should be able to define it by any note in the chord, right? That would be because I might be looking at that shape, but I'm thinking of this as the root. Then I should be able to define it as that as the root. So as I do this, my theory is that I should, this is the way I think would like to view the chords, okay? So I would like to say, look, if I'm looking at this shape, it's got 7 notes in the collection. I should be able to easily make every chord within that collection of notes by simply defining the point I'm starting on and then just saying, is it a 1-note chord up to a 7-note chord? Is it a 1-note chord, a 2-note chord, a 3-note chord? Because we know how to build a chord. You just skip every other note, right? So to me, I would think I could build, you could just say the normal chords should just be, if it's off of the Ionian, it's an Ionian, and I called it a 2-note. It's an Ionian off of the 2. I don't even need the note name because I already know that I'm in the Ionian, whatever that is. In this case, it's the key of C, but it's an Ionian plus 2. The reason I said 2 instead of 3 is because it's going to be an Ionian. It's going to be the Ionian node plus 2 modal whole steps, meaning you skip every other note in the progression, and that's equivalent to a C major, right? If it's an Ionian 3, which means it's going to be a 4-note chord, it's the Ionian node plus 3 modal whole steps, I'm going to call them. I know I'm making up the term of a modal whole step, but I think it's logical to just say you're skipping every other note in the progression of 7 notes, which is in order. That's going to be like the C major 7, right? If it's an Ionian 4, then it's actually a 5-note chord because it's the Ionian node plus 4 modal whole steps. That would be a C major 9. An Ionian 5 would be actually a 6-note chord. The Ionian plus 5 modal whole steps would be a C major 11. And then if I start from the D, or the Dorian, then I could just name them off of the Dorian, right? It's a Dorian, it's a Dorian two modal whole steps. I mean, it's a 3-note chord, which would be a D minor. How do I know it's a D minor? Because it's off of the Dorian, and I know the Dorian is a minor mode. So all of the chords, to me, it makes way more sense to just map them off of the node, and then just build the intervals off of the node that you're on. It just seems like, and if you do that, then I can actually name the chord by any note within the chord, which again seems logical, because I should be able to look at this chord from any perspective, from a musical standpoint. I get, okay, so now I'm just going to try to noodle around with that idea. So let's start on like the top of the guitar and say, okay, well, what if I anchor my finger like somewhere like in the middle on this G, and then I reach up here. So I'm going to start to reach something that's a little different. Maybe I reach up to this one, but I'm going to reach with my middle finger. So if I reach up to that one, then it's like, okay, well, what do I have left? Then I have basically this left, to this finger to put here, so I can put either of these two fingers there, right? I could do it either way. If I do it this way, and then if I do it that way, I still got my pinky, which I could put down here somewhere. So then I can try to kind of name that. If I go from, see right down here, now I have my intervals. My intervals are from the perspective of the C, right? So let me mess with my intervals now and say, okay, what if I bring it down to the G? Do I have that? Could I do that? If I go down here and I go, I have to keep going down to this is ridiculous. This is, it's not even, there's the G. That's one more down. There's got to be a more efficient way to do this. There's the G ones. So from the perspective of the G, right, I'm going from the G to the yellow, which is the Locrian, which is going to be, if this is a 5 node and I'm going to the 7, so I'm going 5, 6, 7, it's 2 modal half steps forward, so it's a 4 note away from the Mixolydian node, 2 modal half steps, which we call a major third, right? So it's a major third, or from here to here. And then if I put my finger down on this one is the Lydian. So if I'm going from the Mixolydian to the Lydian, it's 5, 6, 7, 7 plus, or 2 plus 4. So it's a 6 modal half step away to the Lydian. So it's a 10 note away, 6 modal half steps, which would be a minor 7 scale degree. So those are going to be basically the distances from the Mixolydian. Now I could define that same thing from the Locrian though, or the Lydian. Okay, I'm not going to get into that now, but let's just look at the shape. What I normally do is then I bring, well, what if I bring the same shape this way? And I'm like, okay, well, what can I do then? I can grab that, and maybe that, right? You would think, like if I was like, okay, now I'm going to just stay in my shape, you'd be like, okay, I'm going to do the same kind of thing here. So now I'm here, that's the next note of my shape, and I could reach up to here, and then the next thing I can reach is right there. So okay, so that's gonna, I won't overanalyze it right now because I'm Kind of tired of that. I'm trying to practice that though. So we could go to here, and then the next thing in my shape is I could say, okay, well if I go to the next one back, it would be here, and then I can grab this one up here, and then I can grab that one. That would be the same kind of idea with the shape. So I can go. Right, and then I'm going to end it off with maybe an A, the classic, or just the A minor up this way, since I'm doing not little, so 1, 3, 5 for the A minor this way. So I just kind of, so then I'm thinking, well, I can kind of work that into whatever I'm doing. If I'm playing something in the A minor, like that Hallelujah song. And I wanted to put a filler in there, maybe I'd do something weird like that. So I should move it up the other way. Let me give it a joke in. A warm-up joke, since I've been talking so much. All right. Warm-up joke. Someone says, like, I have an issue. And another guy's like, well, God bless you. And they're like, no, that wasn't a sneeze. I said issue. Issue. And it's like, issue? What is that, French? What do you need? What do you need to use it? What you don't use the word issue? It's like, no, I prefer a more direct term. Like, I don't know, problem. We have a problem. It's like, sorry, I'm not French or whatever. Apparently think that all problems are sneezes. So you have an issue, I have a tissue. Even though the term tissue sounds a little snotty as well. I actually prefer the more descriptive, direct term of snot rag or booger catcher. I like to call it a booger mitt. I need a booger mitt. Issue does not mean sneeze. Okay, whatever. Okay, let me try that again. You kind of need two people. I wrote it like it has two people, but I can be both people because I'm a master comedian who can like play both roles, you know? I gotta adjust my POV. All right. So I have an issue. It's like, well, God bless you. What? That wasn't a sneeze. Issue. Issue? What is that, French? What, you don't have a word for, you don't use the word issue? No, I prefer more direct terms. Like, I don't know, problem. I say I have a problem. Sorry, I'm not French. You apparently think all problems are sneezes. Yeah, I mean, if you have an issue, I've got a tissue. Even though the term tissue sounds a little snotty as well, I don't like that term actually either. I actually prefer the more descriptive term of snot rag or booger catcher. I like booger mitt. I need a booger mitt. I got to sneeze. I need a booger mitt. Issue does not mean sneeze. Okay, whatever. Okay, one more time. I'm gotta practice the delivery. I've got an issue. Well, God bless you then. That was not a sneeze. Issue. What is that, French? What, you don't use the word issue? No. I prefer the more direct term, like, I don't know, Problem. We have a problem. Sorry, I'm not French, who apparently think all problems are sneezes. I mean, if you have an issue, I give you a tissue. Even though the term tissue sounds a little snotty as well for my taste, I actually prefer the more descriptive term of snot rag or booger catcher, possibly booger mitt, kind of like that one. It's a booger mitt. I haven't sneezed, I need a booger mitt. Issue does not mean sneeze. Okay, I don't know, it needs work. But you see, I think it could be refined down, still a little rough, but little refinement in the delivery, the terminology might benefit everyone. Okay, let's say we move up this way and do the same thing. So, okay, so if I take that same idea and I moved it up here, then it would be going here, and then here, and then here. So I could take that same idea and move it up this way. And then I can take that same idea and move it up this way, right? So I'm thinking of my pointer, I'm just following my pointer finger. Did I get that right last time? I don't think I did, but you get the idea. It should be down here. Just following the pointer finger and saying I'm gonna go here and then up to, and then put this one wherever it fits in the shape. So then, so if I'm here, and now I can embellish it a little maybe. Off on. Wait, I should be down here. I was doing this, here to here to here. I messed it all up. I'm confusing people. But I kind of like that one because then I can short it right there. So then, because I'm thinking of A as my tonic, so it gives me that lead in. So then when I get to here, I can be like. A minor shape. This is my same shape, but up in the higher or the lower register, higher on the guitar. So it goes boom, 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 right? That's the same shape in essence as right here, the A minor shape in the middle. So then I can end it there. So let's try it again. So if I'm on this G, then I can go boom, 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 that shape, and I can embellish it or whatever. Up to the A, which is kind of like my root there, but I'm going to move it A to C to G, so that's the 1, 3, and then so, or and then I move it up to here, and I'm like, all right, now I'm just going to move my finger up here, but now I'm going to short it to put it in the Mixolydian Ocean. So now I'm in the mix because I'm the colors of the continents. It's in Mixolydian Ocean to lead in. with the minor chord. Boom, boom, boom. Blending that into my idea that we were doing yesterday. So, okay, what can I like yesterday I was doing this with my 2 strings going boop, 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 walking it down chromatically. And then I can just go from that into here. So I can kind of combine these 2 ideas all the way through the guitar. And that's just all I do. I mean, I'm just trying to improv the 2 things together, right? And you might think, well, that's not how I play. I like to just learn songs, and that's cool. I need to do more of that. But if you're just learning songs, you can spice them up by just throwing stuff in the middle, right? If you're playing... There's some room in between. There's some room to do something in between. back to the normal stuff. Just my back has been hurting. My left hip, my right back. I think I'm a little asymmetrical here. I think I'm getting twisted. I need a, but that's okay. I will stretch myself the other way. Let's try the same idea down here. Like I could like start the same spot, but then like, okay, well, what if I reached up here and then I like reach down here? Notice I'm playing then the same octave. These two are the same notes, but they're an octave different. So it's still kind of, so you're going to say, it's kind of like lame because you're playing the same thing, but it's different. And then I could back this off because my pinky has the flexibility to go from here back to here if I needed to. So I have some. so when I do that, I have an open ring finger, which I can actually put right there. Oh, and then I can kind of toggle. Come on. You know what I'm trying to do, Excel. Don't act like messing with me. If I put my ring finger there, then I can use my pinky to toggle. Toggle. It's a technical musical term. It's not a keyboard, okay? It's this isn't a computer. Okay, I'm toggling with my pinky. Pull that same idea up here. All right. So now I can say, okay, then once I'm doing that, I've got that, which I can once again kind of toggle with my pinky. Go boom, boom, boom. That one would be the one above it. So I'm just going to one right above it. I feel like I got out of whack here somewhere. There. Let's try this again. Take it back the other way. Sounding more, a little more melancholy and low. I think maybe it's because I'm sad. My back, it's making me sad because my back has got a kink in it, and and now I got to express it with the melancholy sound here. My back. Back to here. A minor, but reaching it up this way. No one does it. No one does that, man. Some people probably do it, but people go there. Alright, let's try another joke. You said it wasn't a big effing deal, man. You said it wasn't a big effing deal. It's like, well, that's right, but it's a $10 billion deal. That's not a big, that's a lot of money. Yeah, but does it have anything to do with effing? I mean, it's like, it's a 10 billion. It's not like, okay, that's not a great one. I feel like, let me try a different one. I think I had a different one here I've been working on. This is totally better than Beethoven. Better than Beethoven. Because while Beethoven may cause your little toe to bend by the bay, you know, a little bay toe bend, it's nothing compared to this musical format. It'll get your entire body dancing. It's not just a little bay toe bend. You're going to get your little toe to bend by the bay because of the music. No, we're going to make the whole body move because it's better than Beethoven. Okay. It's not better than Beethoven. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Okay, let's try the same thing down. It's just a joke. It's just a joke, okay? Oh, sweet. If I move that this way, so now I'm leading with this finger and saying, okay, if I reach up like there, it'd be like there. And then if I go here, it's the same idea. It's all symmetrical, kind of. Not exactly symmetrical. We're just reaching whatever we could reach within the shape. close it out, lead it into that D, because this is kind of like, it's kind of like I'm still thinking of myself in A minor, but I'm like doing the D minor bit of it. So it's like when I finish it out, I'll lead into the D, and then I'll do the A minor. That's what I'll do. That's what I'll do. That'll be cool. It sounds funky till you close it out there, though. And then it's and then you go to the A minor. it there.